Welcome to the running journey. I'm Rob Tatro. This is my brother Charlie. Today we got a fun one for you because we just ran a half marathon in LA, just outside of Huntington Beach, and it was a fun one, tough one. So we're going to cover that. We're going to review the race, talk a bit about training because we're into heavy training weeks right now. We are, 5 weeks from Boston Marathon, Charlie?
Five and a half or something.
15th. Yeah, 5 on Monday. So we're getting into the home stretch with some big training weeks. And then just kind of diet, health, anything else that's going on. Remember, if you're coming up and you're watching this and you don't know who we are, we're just two regular guys who started running, and we went down this path, this journey of kind of make some changes. Anyone can do it. You can do it. If you're watching at home, you absolutely unequivocally can do it. I weighed 250 pounds. So did Charlie. I don't know if you weighed 250, Charlie, did you? Right around there.
247.
247. He lost more weight than I did. But we just started walking and then running and then jogging and then some marathons. And now we train actively and we try to compete, right? We try to compete. We run races. The most recent race we ran, Charlie, the SoCal River Half Marathon. How do you think it went?
Oh, for me, it didn't go well at all, but I mean, that's sometimes how it goes. So I know what about for you? I think it went fairly well for you. So do you want to talk about how it went for you?
Yeah, no, it went great for me. I was listening to our last podcast episode, and I don't know if you've done this. Have you ever listened to our podcast? Do you listen to them sometimes?
Yeah, all the time.
Okay, it's kind of like a moment in time, right? A flash in time.
Yeah.
And like, man, I listen to myself and I'm like, holy smokes, that guy needs a hug or something. Like I sounded depressed. So that's where I was a week and a half ago, 2 weeks, or whenever we recorded last, a week and a half, 2 weeks ago. And I can't believe you need to fix your blinds, by the way, Charlie.
Yeah, I can't. I don't know, unless I move somewhere.
You're not able to fix your blinds? No, it's okay. It's okay.
I can move. I'll just move.
No, if it's fine for you, it's fine for me. It's just, I feel like it's probably annoying for you to get the sun.
Yeah, well, it's like an hour a day every day. Yep.
An hour a day. And no blinds, no process, no blinds. Oh, there we go, a little bit better. Okay, so I was thinking about how like depressed I was, and then I was like, hey, Cheryl.
Sorry. I'm trying to fix the blinds.
Yeah, no, it's good. It's fine. It's fine. Now there's only like 3 stripes on my face.
Barely any stripes. Anyways, I had no reason to be so down. I was worried because I had done these tough workouts. I wasn't able to do them. I had taken like a week off twice, and I was worried I couldn't do anything. And sure enough, I ended up putting an unbelievable effort in SoCal, and I finished 3rd overall. My chip time was like 124, but I think my real time was 125. It was fun. We flew down with the family. I had all of my family there, my 4 kids. We've done this a few times now, Charlie. You brought your son.
Yeah, that was great.
We decided we'd do that race on one of these episodes, if I recall.
Yeah, I think we had talked about doing a tune-up race for our Boston Marathon, and that was it. So
I think it was your idea.
Yeah, so that's kind of the reason I was very disappointed with my result, was because this was supposed to be kind of the indicator of what, what the goal should be for Boston, and I missed by lots. So, but I'm not. So I guess I'm still confident in my abilities that I'm just gonna, discard it.
You're going to park it. I think you should, because there's a lot of things, specifically the wind. The wind at this race was, and I get why you would be disappointed, because you flew across the country, you spent all this money, you took some time off work, you focused, we took an Airbnb, we built a whole weekend around a race, and then, you feel like you didn't have your best day. I get it. I get why you're disappointed, but I mean, that was a tough day.
Yeah, that, and I made multiple mistakes coming into it. So,
Okay, so let's talk about that. It's not fun to talk about our mistakes, but let's talk about that. So first off, the race was on a Saturday morning. Usually we do Sunday races, but this one was a Saturday morning. The Airbnb ended up being right by the start line, which was cool. The day before, you and I went out for a jog, and I remember you mentioning or saying, or maybe this was in my head, or maybe you told me the next day that you didn't feel that great the day before, maybe because of your sleep or your travel, or I don't know what was going on. But I remember
No,
you
I
saying
did
that.
not. The day before, I was like,
Okay, it was
yeah, the day before, I didn't feel great at all.
yeah,
I thought it might be. So it was right after I'd eaten a big meal, and it was right after, and it was hot. It felt like a sauna for me. I remember,
yeah.
so that wasn't used to. Um, and then usually when you PR, or when I PR anyways, or when I have a great race, I know in the warm up that it's a possibility. Today I was like, or when we ran it, I was, after the warm up, I was like, maybe. It was like it's not like I know I'm going to do this, like where you've had, I don't know if I've had that
Definitely.
feeling sometimes before a race, like where it's like, okay, yeah, I'm feeling good today. This is going to be good. And then in this war, so but I don't know. Some people tell me that sometimes they feel great and then they don't do well. So I don't know if this is indicative, but for me, like usually my warm up tells me, and in the warm up, I didn't feel so good. So like, but I knew it was going to be hard. So
Remember we talked about this? We talked about how we would know kind of in the first 2, 3 miles if it was going to be a good day or not, or in the warm up if it
yeah,
was going to,
yeah.
and we both kind of agreed that, oh shit, I hope I have a good first 2, 3 miles because this is going to
Yeah.
be tough.
And
And
then
then
I did this classic mistake that everyone does, is I went out too fast.
you went out too fast. Okay, if you were to
For
hammer
me,
out,
for that day.
if you were to list what you think your mistakes that you made for this race, which you're going
Well,
to
sorry, the biggest one is, so I went to Europe for 2 weeks, and then 2 weeks, the half was 2 weeks after. So
ho hum. I went to Europe for 2 weeks.
yeah. So, but the thing is, it was great. I got lots of miles in, and the training was really good. But I had nailed my nutrition. January, I had done exactly what I wanted nutrition wise, right? And then starting February on vacation, you know how hard it is. Not that I was eating that badly, but I think I wasn't eating as well as I was. And then the 2 weeks after the vacation, I don't know if you get this, but sometimes you get like, maybe like after a big vacation, you get the blues a little bit.
Yeah, a little bit of
Not the
dopamine
blues,
crash.
but it's just hard to get back on your
Yeah, there's a
routine.
lot of emails. You got to get the kids back to daycare and school and
Yeah.
snow. And yeah, it's
Yeah.
tougher for
So
sure.
so my nutrition wasn't great for another 2 weeks. And I think it finally just caught up to me. Like I still early in late February, my workouts were all great. Like I had really good workouts early February, mid February, and then as soon as kind of March started, I'm seeing the numbers now on my workouts, and they're just not quite as good. So maybe it's just accumulated fatigue as well. That's kind of what my coach said. But also, so I wasn't tapered at all. Like I was basically 250 miles in the last 30 days up to that race. But all this to summarize, I think the number one mistake was just not staying up on that nutrition. I went back in my records, and every good race I've ever had has been, there's been at least a 2 week lead up of like really good nutrition for me. So I feel like that's a key success factor for me, and I didn't do it for this race.
Do you think your sleep has been okay the last while?
Sleep is pretty good, except for maybe both the 2 nights before. The week of the race was a fairly stressful and hectic work week for me, so that may have played a factor. I don't know. So anyways, so I think the 3 major factors are, well, nutrition was 1. 2 was the bit of stress for the week. 3 was maybe
Going out too fast.
Accumulated fatigue. Yeah, going out too fast, of course. But I feel like maybe if it would have been my best day, I could have handled that pace. So that's kind of like was like my You know,
Right. You didn't know that you didn't have it, so it's not really a mistake, right?
well, I kind of knew, but it kind of goes back to when in doubt, be more conservative, right? Like had I gone out maybe 20 seconds a mile slower for the first 3 miles, I could have maybe cut 2-3 minutes off my time, which is still not great, but I could have run a better time with better pacing.
But there's something to be said. So we pushed for a reason, right? There was those two guys, and we were trying to kind of.
Yeah. So we'll go through the race in a couple minutes here. So I'm just kind of going through my potential mistakes, and then the fourth one. So I said nutrition,
Stress at the office,
going out too fast,
and
then maybe just not really a mistake, but just part of the training is kind of really didn't have a taper, which is great because I'm happy I didn't have a taper because that means, I mean, I had a bit of a taper the week of, but usually a taper is 2 weeks, right? At least. So I didn't have a taper. When we get to Boston, I will be tapered, and I expect to be feeling a lot more fresh. So
yeah.
So, but you is kind of the opposite. I had kind of high expectations because my training. That's the other thing, having too high of I feel like you raise better when your expectations are lower, maybe.
Okay, but the last time I felt like this was in New York.
Yeah.
And I was like, I can't. There's no way I'm going to do like a 320, and I ended up doing a 319, like exactly what I said I would do, and that's what I felt. And
yeah,
I felt terrible that New York because that was right after my Ironman. So like last week, that's how I felt. Like I'm not bullshitting. Like I'm not. That's actually how I felt.
It can go both ways, I guess. Because I remember my last two halves where I PR'd in. I had no expectations for them because I hadn't been training as much, and it just all of a sudden that day, I guess the tapering was perfect. Whatever, I felt great. Then I had a PR. The two marathons where I PR'd in, I knew I felt good, and I knew I was going to get a good day that day. So it's kind of those two were opposite feelings. So I thought maybe that was a factor, just having too much pressure on myself, maybe to hit that like 126. Maybe that's actually what it was. It's just too much pressure.
Yeah, maybe it's the pressure. I mean,
on myself, just self-imposed. Yeah.
I was actually just going out there thinking, so I'm battling this injury, this cold. I'm still not through it. I'm still coughing through this interview right now, through this podcast recording. It won't go away. I've had it for a month and a half. And this internal nagging injury that flares up and causes me to, but I guess aside from that, man, my workouts, I've been putting in a lot of miles. I'm unlike you. I've not had a trip, and I've been like diligent with my nutrition. Like I've been so diligent. It's like when I saw you stop at Carl's, I was like, I'm not stopping at Carl's. Like I'm not doing that. Like Carl's Jr., like today I need to focus, and it's very hard for me. And so like I'm proud of that, but I didn't feel like I would possibly do a 125. And we get there, and there's, what was it, 35-kilometer wind, 40-kilometer wind, gusting to like 60 or something?
I think likely our steady wind was 30 kilometers because we were very, very exposed. Like we were high up on the banks. So it was the whole way was on a river, and there's a lot of parts of that river where you'd be like really high on the banks because the banks were built up, and you were super exposed, no trees, nothing. So I would say probably the average was like 30, but it would gust up to maybe 45, 50 kilometers. It was tough. Yeah. That's the other thing. We kind of went fast at the beginning to get a draft, make sure we were behind people that were drafting us. And I think we were like 3 miles in, we were at like 6:25 pace or 6:30 pace or something, which was pretty hard, but it was kind of worth it to get that drafting, right? But then I couldn't maintain. I realized I couldn't maintain it, so I had to drop back, and then I was alone the whole race after that, basically alone. So yeah, I can't hear. I don't think your sound is working.
I was coughing, so I had put it on mute. But the historical record says 25-mile-an-hour wind. So, I mean, I don't know if that's gusts or whatever, but it was the windiest that I've run into, I think, in my life.
Oh, yeah, that's the other thing. It was almost directly into it the whole way.
And the race is a point-to-point race. Like it was like we were going straight line south, like southwest or whatever you want to call it, like straight line. There was no, like, it's a straight line. Like, it's not a point and back. It was straight southwest. So we knew we had the wind, and like the wind was directly in our face, and you had looked at it the night before. And so then we get to the start line, and it's not that many people. Was there 200 people, 300 people maybe?
Yeah,
I don't even know.
I think about that. Yeah, 300 maybe.
So the gun goes, everyone bolts out, and you and I had talked about it. We are not going to go out blazing, right? And then sure enough, like half a mile in, we're on like 6-minute pace or something. So we're like, okay, well, so let's slow down a bit. And then we ended up feeling what we did 6:30 on the first, 6:28 on the first mile.
Yeah. So that was reasonable, I'd say.
Yeah, we wanted to come in at 6:40, 6:45 there, then
strategy was to be a little bit slower, but yeah, exactly.
Then we slowed down a little bit. We said, okay, let's pump the brakes a bit. Two 6:35s in a row, 6:35, 6:35. And then that's around that time, the fourth mile, where
you said, I remember you said we should go and draft against these guys. So we did it.
Yeah, there were two guys. We were like in 8th place or something. There was two guys in front of us that were about our size, and they were just running slightly faster than us, just or about the same pace.
Well, but about the same at that point, because I think maybe a lot of people went out fast and then slowed down as well, like very similar. So I'd say we were about the same at that pace, but they were maybe 30 meters ahead. Maybe less.
Yeah, and so you do a lot of biking on your Zwift. You do a ton of biking, and you've like become the master of like figuring out when you go hard to catch up to someone in drafting, and when is it worth it, when is it not, and whatever. I haven't, but I know that day I wanted to draft. I wanted to be behind someone. So we kind of looked at each other, and I said, I think I want to be behind those guys. And you're like, just go. So I kind of pushed it, and it took me, I don't know, maybe a quarter mile or whatever to catch up to them.
Yeah, I was with you there when we did that.
Okay, yeah, okay, we did that together.
Yeah.
Okay, and then we caught up.
That may have been what put me over the edge.
That was hard, catching up to them, because that ended up being like one of these fast sections here. We like for sure we were doing like 6:10 or whatever for that mile just to catch up, because we had to catch up like 15 seconds, and we did it maybe in a half mile or whatever, a quarter mile. Yeah. So we caught up, and then you were like, "Ooh, I can't do this," right?
Yeah, I'm wondering if I would have just like now I'm looking back at it, if I would have just like held on for a couple more minutes, like maybe it would have settled down back a little bit.
Your heart rate,
because we were,
yeah, we had climbed a hill, or we had like whatever you want to compare it to.
We had worked hard for an extra couple minutes there to catch up to those guys, and then they were still doing 6:25s or so it was a little fast. But
I don't think they did the perfect race either, obviously.
Yeah, obviously not. But I mean, but it's just cutting that wind would have been. But I could have dropped back and just picked someone and just,
Yeah, but there's another guy we need to mention who, from the start, was behind us.
He ran a pretty good race.
I ran an unbelievable race. Philip.
Yeah. What was his nickname that we gave him? Oh, Windbreaker.
Windbreaker. Yeah, Windbreaker killed it. Windbreaker saved my race. Windbreaker got me a personal best. Windbreaker got me a podium. Windbreaker had a phenomenal race. And so he started just behind us, and I could hear these heavy shoes. And I was like, he's drafting us. So I was kind of making a few jokes. And then when we went up, he followed. And then he was drafting us. And then you kind of peeled off or just, peeled off.
For a second, my plan was like, okay, I'm going to go behind him. But I couldn't hold it. I just made the decision to back off at that point. I don't know. I kind of wish I would have see if I could held on for a couple minutes and use the draft. But
because on 9 miles that we had left, you ended up about 35 seconds per mile kind of thing difference. And I think the wind was probably 30 seconds per mile. I actually think it was that much.
No, I'd say that's probably
okay.
I would say 20 seconds.
Okay, fine, 20 seconds. But what I'm getting at is
30. I don't know, but for sure 20.
But you would have had like the uplifting feeling of like being part of a group. Running would have been a little easier because you didn't have the wind. Anyways, maybe it would have worked, maybe it would have didn't. But me and Windbreaker are running behind these two guys now. And I'm finally like, okay, well, Charlie's gone, so I guess I'm with these guys. And Windbreaker, we followed them for, I don't know, a mile or two, and then one of the guys left the other guy, so they split up.
I ask you about these guys. Like, so did they drop off at some point?
One of them, yeah, so they split. Like, I could hear them talking, and finally they're like, okay, one of them didn't have it.
Oh,
so they kind of,
yeah, okay, yeah.
They split, and then Windbreaker followed the fast guy.
Yeah.
So I followed him. So for a while, there was three of us, tack, one behind the other.
Yeah.
And then eventually, I want to say mile 6 or something, maybe 7, we dropped the other guy. Windbreaker just picked it up, and we dropped the other guy. Windbreaker was tall, by the way.
Probably tell that he was slowing down his pace.
Yeah, he's like, I have a goal, and this is. I'm pretty sure. I thought that Windbreaker was doing like a training run because he looked so effortless.
Yeah.
Like he looked like he was like a 150 heart rate, and I'm going at 160 kind of thing. He looked like he was in just much better shape, stronger strides, looked better. I was laboring, and he was like, it looked like he was having an easier time. So he was probably like, no, I can't do these 635s. I need to be doing 625s or whatever, or 630s. So he just went ahead. And then I followed him. I'm like, well, I'm going to follow this guy. I'm not going to follow these guys. Like, these guys looked like they were struggling. So I followed Windbreaker. I said, I'll follow him for as long as I can. And who knows? And then at mile 8, there was an aid station. And he kind of slowed down, and I kind of went ahead. And all of a sudden, I'm running ahead, and he's behind me. And it was like this, like I felt like I was in a hurricane. I was like, what is going on? Like this, I couldn't do it. I couldn't run. I was like, this is so hard. So I did what any honorable runner would do. I faked an injury. I did the old,
I didn't need to. You could just slow down.
I know, but I slowed down, and then I told you what happened. Our feet clipped.
Oh, okay. So injury.
No. It wasn't a real injury. I just wanted him to go ahead of me. So I slowed down, and then our feet clipped, and he apologized, and I, because he was falling right behind me, obviously. So then I said, I just kind of started doing the hip pointer thing. And then I just said, "No, you go ahead. And then he's like, "Oh, are you okay?" And I'm like, "Yeah, I'm fine." And then he went, and then I just went behind them, right? I'm
thinking back, like the win there, like 20 seconds at least, I would say, because I'm thinking back, and maybe it was just a better day, but the effort level for when we did our 20 miles in the half marathon, I remember we were doing like 720s at some point, and they felt like effortless. And here
in the first half of the half,
yeah,
it
felt easy. And then I remember at the end I was struggling. I was struggling 720s. Like I was at like 160 something heart rate. Like I slowed down quite a bit when I was in the wind, but like that's how. Yeah, it was at least 20 seconds. Yeah, for sure. I was not feeling. I think it was combination of that, and I just wasn't feeling as good that day as I did the day a week prior. Yeah.
So Windbreaker kept going. So miles 7, 8, 9. Once we passed those guys, he was like, we did a 6:17, and then we got to mile 10. That's when we crossed the bridge, and now we were on the high side of the river.
Yeah.
Kind of on a path, almost above the tree line. 10 going home there. We crossed the bridge.
No, but that's
it was 10.
Well, the first time you crossed the bridge, you mean?
Yeah, the first time was at 6 or 7, 5.
Yeah, but the last time is like at mile 12.
No, it's not. No, because I remember the pace. No, it might have been 11, but it wasn't 12.
Yeah, 11, I think.
No, because the aid station was on that side. I'll check the map.
Anyways, yeah, whatever.
Either way, whatever.
Wrong. I was very struggling. I thought
10 and a half.
I thought that right before that bridge was a really hard section.
10 and a half. Exactly at 10 and a half.
Okay.
10 and a quarter.
I thought that right before that bridge was like, didn't it go way up? You had to climb way up.
And it did.
Right in the wind right before that.
Yeah. I think miles 10, 11, and 12 were by far the hardest. And we went from 6:17s and 6:20, 6:17s to 6:40, 6:45, 6:42.
Okay, so I guess I started feeling better by the end because I know that I started speeding up at 10, 11, 12 again. So I slowed down like significantly, but that was very much a mental thing after mile 3. And I slowed down for a long, long time, and I stayed pretty consistent. But then at like mile 10, I started speeding up again.
And you were like, you know what? Mile 10, let's finish this. 3 miles, let's go. I can do this. Like probably something like that.
Yeah. Well, because I had been passed by 2 or 3 people because I was going pretty slow.
That's the worst.
Relative. But I had been passed by 2 or 3 people, I think 3, and I had passed 2 other people. But then the last guy that passed me, he passed me at like mile 9. And then at mile 10, I realized that I was slowly catching up to him again. So then I got motivated to say, maybe I can catch this guy that passed me. And like, he gave me a very friendly comment, like only 6 kilometers to go. But I was,
you didn't like it.
For some reason, I didn't like it. But anyways, yeah. So my last 3 miles, I actually did better than the middle of the race, surprisingly.
Yeah, and no, I was just to finish is windbreaker. When we crossed the bridge, we're at mile 10 and a half, and he looks at me, he goes, "Can you take some wind? Can you take some wind now?" And I just went, "No, sorry, you're doing great." And then he kind of like, "Why?" And so I told him, this is what I told him. I said, "You're in much better shape than I am. If I'm in front, we're 30 seconds behind, and it's not going to work. Like it's not going to work. You're in much better shape than I am. So you have to take the win." This is what I said.
Yeah, I don't know. I think if you guys would have shared, well, we did share because he
took the first 4 miles behind me.
Yeah, the first 4 miles he was behind. So
yeah, then we did 1 or 2. He did 1 or 2 behind the other group.
Yeah.
So he only led for like 7.
Yeah. So
we led for 4. It's a bit of sharing.
But maybe had you guys just agreed to share the whole way, you could have maybe shaved a little bit of time, both of you guys.
Yeah, I probably should have.
I mean, hard to tell now, right? But
I probably should have done that. I was just it was so hard in that wind. I probably should have done that.
You probably felt like you thought it was like 30 seconds harder effort basically once you were out in the wind.
Yeah, and I could see him crushing it, and I was like, well, if I take the wind, we're now doing 7-minute miles, and he's not going to want to be behind.
So like when you're doing it in Zwift and real life, I'm sure is probably similar too. Like if you're at the front, it's like I don't know, it's like 40% extra. So sorry, I think the second guy saves 25 and the third guy saves like 40%. So let's say you're going like 350
watts.
350, then it's like the second guy only has to go 280 to match his speed. So it's I don't think it was as bad as that, but it's similar to that, I would imagine.
But like in the heat of the moment, how tired I was, it felt like that.
Yeah. So you had put in a huge effort, I would imagine. You must have felt
it was a bigger effort than I put in at my personal best, and it was a bigger effort power wise and heart rate wise than I've ever put in for that distance. So yeah.
And I say no, I think that, let's say it's 20 seconds a mile. Okay. That's a 4-minute wind. Right?
Yeah.
So
yeah, and I did according to my chip time, I did a 1:23.50, but according to my watch, I did a 1:25.40. We don't know for sure.
We for sure did.
Okay, fine. But I did a 1:25 and something.
Yeah, 1:25.50, let's say, and if you take 4 minutes off for the wind,
I'm way more proud of that 1:25.50 than my 1:24.50 from years. Even though I was incredibly proud of that, I'm obviously in better shape. What I'm saying.
Yeah.
And then windbreaker, man, what an athlete. So we're coming up, and this is
the finish. You have to tell.
This is my sprint. I don't know if the color is showing there.
Oh yeah, it's red. Yeah, it looks red.
It's very red, right? So we're coming up a hill here, and then you turn the corner, and as we got to the top, he kind of looked around. He's like, is it that way or is it that way? And there, I saw the finish line. I could see it. And I was like, I'm just going to go here. So I just bolted right there. I just went for it.
I made the same mistake that that windbreaker made.
But I ended up, so heavy breather last time was on my heels, but windbreaker this time had more energy in the tank than I did.
He had a bit more kick. Well,
he had well, I went fast, right? Like whatever red means.
Yeah, you were like, I saw your strat. It was like 5.5 or 5.
Yeah, so I pushed as hard as I possibly could, and I was ahead of him.
That's a pretty good sprint at the end.
It was a long sprint, and then what happens? I hear, like I hear his big long strides and his heavy, and I'm like right at the finish line, and he passed me.
But
like,
he was mid-20s, so obviously he's going to beat you in the sprint.
Yeah. But you know what? It was fun. It was fun sprinting, and then I see him at the finish. I'm like, man, you killed it. What an effort! And he was like, oh, thanks. So yeah, I don't know who he is, but no. You know what I'm going to do? I'm going to reach out to him on Strava, and I'm going to send him this link.
Okay.
Just because
he crushed it. He crushed. That was a tough half, man.
Dude, he did 7 tough miles in the wind. Windbreaking, like he's
I did that too, but I just went slow. I just slowed down.
So and then it was fun.
The other part of this marathon, which is, so when you look at it, you look at the map and they show the elevation, it's slightly downhill.
So
so that kind of helps, like that maybe offset the wind, but I would say definitely not as much as the wind. So the wind was very much stronger than the slope, but the thing is, yeah, it was slightly downhill, but I'd say like every half mile or so, there'd be an underpass that you would have to run under and then back up. So that to me took a lot of energy.
Hated them. I hated those underpasses. Like the total elevation, according to my Garmin, was minus 150 feet over 13 miles. So that's something, right? It's not nothing, but 22 overpasses. Or what did we count? We counted them the other day. 20 or 22?
Oh, I don't know.
I counted them. I zoomed in and I counted. So every time you're going downhill, then you're going uphill. And it's like, this is us Manitobans complaining about elevation because we don't have overpasses, but it adds up, right? Because it's a decent
every
hill.
Time up the hill, so every time down the hill, you're kind of wasting energy slowing yourself down because they were steep. Those hills were down, they were steep, and then up while you're climbing. So you're putting on a little bit of an extra effort to get up that hill. I mean, or you could walk, or you could run at 9-minute miles. But I mean, so you're putting a lot of extra effort to get through that portion. And if it was 20 times, like, yeah, that adds up.
It definitely added up. And then there's a little hill right at the end when you had to climb under the underpass.
Oh, the big, that felt like such a big hill for me. I was not going fast up that hill at the end.
Overall, did you like the race? Did you think it was good, well organized? What did you think?
Yeah, it was well organized. I mean, we just showed up. It was nice that we were 1.2 miles away from the starting line. Took an Uber back. Yeah, it was great. I kind of wish I would have stayed. So what happened is you won the plaque for 3rd overall, and the way they did their age group awards was they excluded anyone who finished in the top 3. So 1 and 3 were in our category,
40 to 45,
40 to 44.
Yeah,
40, so I would have ended up, since they excluded those times, I would have ended up winning a prize for 40 to 44, but I didn't ask. We just left, and I didn't.
So to be clear, the race is over. It started downpouring, and you're like, "Okay, let's go. Let's get out of here." You weren't happy with your time, and I was like, "I just want to wait for my plaque. Can I get my plaque?" And you're like, "Okay, man, let's go. Let's get out of here." And it was downpouring, and you're like, "We're gonna get pneumonia." So I think it was more you that wanted to leave than me, but we got out of there quick.
Yeah. No, once it started getting sunny, though, it wasn't like actually the sun coming in. Then it was not too bad.
Right before we got into the Uber, you're like, actually, it's clearing up here. And I was like,
yeah, take your time, Rob.
I liked it. I think it's fun. I love doing these kind of, I call them small travel races. I've said this a million times. It's so fun. Like travel, like jogging tourism or whatever you want to call it. I did the Chicago one. I've done the, a whole, I love doing these things. And you go with your family or you go with the boys on a trip and you meet new people, you have stories, you get a race, you learn about yourself.
Oh yeah, sorry. So one more thing that made it hard for me. Now I'm realizing the afternoon start. It wasn't an afternoon start, but it was
9:30
and
Pacific time.
And because it was West Coast, that was like 11:30. That felt super late for me.
Yeah, we were up. We recorded an episode before the race.
Yeah.
That was a late start for sure by our standards, but
some people might like that. I personally like the early start, but
yeah, you were up at 4:30.
No, I wasn't. I wasn't up that early.
The next day you were. It was 4:30.
The next day, because I wanted to take advantage. So that was actually one of the parts of the trip that I enjoyed is the beautiful weather in the morning to do your morning run. So I wanted to take advantage of that nice weather before I knew it was a big snowstorm here in Manitoba. And I wanted to get a couple nice miles in California before we left, which they were awesome. It was so that Monday morning run was really nice.
I screwed the pooch there. I blew it big time because I was checking emails late at night. I didn't go to bed till late. When my alarm rang, I was going to do the same thing because we had to get up early to get to the airport.
Yeah.
I snoozed and I went back to bed. I was like, I'll just jog in Winnipeg.
Yeah.
So when we got back, snowstorm, late, whatever, I put my stuff on. I hated that jog. Hated it. I did not enjoy it. So it was slushy, it was icy, it was just not, it was cold. I wasn't used to it.
Yeah.
So I regret not doing what you did. Should have got up. All right, so this weekend, so fun race. We're gonna give it a fun race. Good for you guys. SoCal River Marathon.
Yeah, it was a great race. Yeah.
You're on the river the whole way. It's good scenery. You're in Anaheim. You pass right by the Anaheim Angels Stadium, and then you finish at Huntington Beach, where I've now finished 3 races in the last 2 months.
They also had a full marathon there that you.
Yeah, they did have a full. They had a 10K. I think they had a 5K.
Yeah.
So good race. Try it out. Huntington Beach, beautiful weather, sea level, and a little downhill if you don't mind the ups and downs over the overpasses. So this week both have long distance runs. Obviously, I had some tough workouts midweek this week. I wasn't able to do all of my Wednesday workout because it's the same workout I had a hard time with last week. So. But I don't care. I'm very, very happy with my effort, and I think it's just a tough
how
workout.
fast are you trying to go for your tempo section?
Whatever it says on the thing, at the bottom end of whatever he says on the thing. I wasn't able to do it. I'll tell you.
See, I don't even look at that. I just look at.
So 9.0 is what I tried to do, and I did it for the first 5 minutes, and then I wasn't able to, so I had to slow down.
Yeah, so that's slightly faster than your marathon pace, right?
Just a little bit, yeah.
Yeah, okay. So I did the same. Well, I was able to do. I don't know what I was able to do because, like I said, like when you're on a track and it's measured, is it accurate? I don't know. But according to the track that I was at, I was able to do it. But it was not easy. It's not supposed to be easy, I don't think. So.
Then I had to go down.
I think the level of effort I put into the half marathon was probably significantly less than the level of effort that you put. I think like I was below, like I wasn't at my top effort, so I had a bit more left in me, I would say, this week.
Right. 20 miles on Sunday, that's what you have?
Yeah, figure out. Hopefully there's a nice Chemin Gérard Tétrault road that we can run that on.
Well, Twin River Road will be good to run.
Yeah, I don't want to do it on gravel, but we can, I guess. We'll see.
You could even run on the highway.
I think that route that we use, the Chemin Gérard Tétrault, if it's been cleared, it would be
there
awesome.
And back.
Yeah, just there and back. That's
a lot of there and backs.
Yeah.
Okay, so 20 miles on Sunday. Oh, that means we're gonna miss. Oh no, I'm gonna do Run Club on Saturday. Run Club Saturday morning. The Run Club is growing. If anyone's watching this and you're in Winnipeg and you want to join the Run Club, message me, DM me, whatever. Find me on Strava, whatever. and come run. We run for an hour-ish every Saturday morning at around 10 a.m. We leave in St. Boniface, not too far from Whittier Park. So the club is growing. There's like 8 or 9 of us now, and you get 4 or 5 guys every week, 6 sometimes. It's fun. This morning I ran with Jer Brimo.
Okay.
He reached out to me. He's like, hey, want to chat about some stuff, and it was awesome. I was like, yeah, come join me on my jog. So he joined me, and he ran, and we jogged. It was good.
I had a fun one this morning.
I saw your hills.
Yeah, well, it's not really hills. It's like 2% incline or whatever. But
is it more or less hills than those underpasses in Huntington Beach?
They're longer, but less steep. Definitely less steep.
Okay.
So, but yeah, it felt good. I was up the hill going at 7, and then down the hill at 6. Good. It was fun.
Nice. Okay, don't forget to like and subscribe, guys. We got 6 weeks till Boston. I'm running across New Brunswick in the month of May. Follow me on TikTok, Run with Rob CMV. Run with Rob CMV. Subscribe to this YouTube channel. Lots of fun stuff. If anything you want to see, let us know. We'd love to chat. We got Boston. Charlie's got an Ironman coming up in November. I'm doing 7 marathons, 7 days, 7 continents in January 2025, and this summer we're probably going to do I got World Championships too for triathlon in October, and this summer is going to be I don't know, some fun stuff. I think I should do an ultra.
Yeah, you want to do I don't,
it doesn't give it to
ultras me. Just sound too painful. But you have you have stronger feet than I do. I'm just worried that the main reason I don't want to do an ultra is I'm just worried that I'm going to injure myself.
Yeah, you don't want to get injured
because last time I tried one, and maybe that's just a hang up. At some point I'll do an ultra, of course, but I think this summer for me it's just going to be fun triathlons. I love these short triathlons.
Yeah.
And then Ironman.
Well, you'll do the half Ironman in Hecla probably.
Yeah, that's a fun one. It's a really nice swim. That is an amazing swim there. It's like
that whole race is really good.
Yeah, well, the half marathon is pretty tough, but
the bike, some sketchy parts on the highway there, but
it's very nice. It's very fast course, the bike.
It's scenic also. You're running in a bay of water, like it's
well, last year there was very strong winds for the bike. So we were kind of lucky that there was no wind for the swim, and then anyways, who cares? But So the winds picked up, which made the biking a little harder.
Last year you finished podium for the half Ironman? I forget.
Yeah, I finished 3rd. Well, I guess because none of the really good triathletes showed up, so that's why. But it was good. Yeah, no, it went really well.
Awesome. All right, guys, thanks for tuning in. We will see you in the next video.
You bet.